What if I told you a former Navy servicewoman and a former NICU nurse went into the adult entertainment industry and is crushing it? Not only that, but she's also got an incredible business mind. Would you believe me? Well, don't take my word for it. I have an incredible interview for you today. And this is none other than Allie Rae from OnlyFans. If you guys haven't checked her out, definitely Google her. Watch if you're doing it at work, be careful, of course. But Allie Rae is actually has an incredible business mind. It was a really entertaining interview, and I thought that this was actually something that not a lot of people have seen a side of, as far as her business mind and just the level headedness she has here. She really is treating her content creation, just as anybody is in content creation, as a legitimate business, because it is. And it's really interesting to see how she's taken the approach and how she's actually helped herself from OnlyFans and really created another platform to protect her from OnlyFans. We're going to get into that in the interview as well. How this all started was because I talked about uh, OnlyFans being losing viewership because of the potential recession that's coming, and compared to the pandemic and how OnlyFans models are suffering right now. The New York Post put out an article quoting Allie Rae on the potential slowdown, and she actually watched that video, watched that stream on this channel, and reached out to me and wanted to kind of clear the air. So here you have it. Here's Allie Rae. Enjoy this interview. So Allie, I just kind of wanted to talk to you about like how you even discovered my show. Like, I'm not even a big time YouTuber. I've been a creator for 5 years, believe it or not. But I just thought it was interesting. Like, me and my buddy Don were just talking about the particular article and like, could this be a sign of some sort of recession? And then you happen to actually comment on it, and I kind of wanted to give a little bit of a synopsis of the actual article. So this whole thing started based off of the New York Post, and they basically were talking about how OnlyFans models were, really kind of dropping off because of the just lack of interest, and maybe this was a sign of recession because people don't have as much money to throw around, and it seemed as if maybe you felt like you were a little bit misrepresented in that article.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the overall consensus of the article certainly. I think creators would be lying if they're saying they're not feeling it. And like you mentioned in your original YouTube video, that creators of all kinds right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the numbers are down, and I think it goes in comparison to what we experienced during COVID. Obviously, everybody was home. A lot of us that were online creators were doing very well. So, what I was really trying to get at in the article is that. Definitely there has been a slowdown. I personally am not hurting by any means. I know that's the tone it came off, but that is certainly not where I was going with that. What I was really trying to stress is that there's going to be a lot of creators who are really going to have to take this seriously as a business. I think the market in the adult content world, especially on OnlyFans, is incredibly oversaturated.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who do this part-time, creators who don't put a lot of time and effort into it. And if it's something you'd like to continue, I think from this, now that times are different, it's not going to come as easy. And so creators like myself are going to be fine because I have multiple streams of income. I'm also the CEO of WetSpace, my own platform. But what I was trying to encourage creators is, if you're going to be in this for the long haul, now's the time to really start thinking about your business, because to me, that's what it is, and how you want to move forward. And if this is going to be a hobby for you, or if this is going to be something you actually financially capitalize on long term. That's kind of where my tone was going with it.
Yeah, I mean, so just to kind of clear some things up. So there was quotes in here that said that it says many top creators are hurting really bad, which obviously is a given, especially and you brought up a good point. Like, it's not just OnlyFans creators, right? Like, you cited that I had mentioned it in my own space as well. Like, I've been a creator before COVID happened, and then COVID happened, and it's almost seemed like everybody blew up. It's almost
Hmm.
felt like you couldn't mess this up, right?
Yeah, it was pretty easy to, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that so what you're kind of alluding to is like the sustainability part of it is what the real challenge is, and I think that that's what you have done a really good job at. It's like, yeah, you really crushed it, from the get-go, right? But there's this longevity piece, and there's going to be a shelf life. What if OnlyFans goes away? And that's what I think about too. Like, nobody's guaranteeing that YouTube's gonna be here forever. So what do
Yeah.
you do after that, or what do you do outside of that? And the revenue from YouTube, and even I'm sure OnlyFans, is so wildly inconsistent that you have to do something else to be able to have that security.
Yeah, because I think a lot of these girls might be younger, and it's not to say that age doesn't come with any type of business savvy at all, but being younger, a little more irresponsible with the money that they are getting. It's a lot of money. Some of these girls, or I shouldn't say just girls, creators are coming into, and if you don't have that maturity to know how to properly invest it, how to set yourself up for success long term, the money just seems so good and it just pours in. Well, the way I'm looking at it, I've always looked at this from a business perspective, but I'm also 38 years old. I have a family to run. I understand this side of life, but I think that that's what concerns me, is that this is going to maybe happen fairly quick. I mean, if we truly go into a recession or anything else continues to crash, this is a discretionary people are using discretionary income for this. This is not a necessity. And so I think I worry about people who are not looking into that. And it's one of the very reasons why I created WetSpace, specifically aiming from when, and OnlyFans made their announcement that they were going to, take adult content off the platform. And that came to me as a business person, entrepreneur, is like, wow, I really do have all my eggs in one basket here, and this is not stable. And any business wants stability. And so that's kind of where I started to think, where's the problem? The banks. How do we fix it? Get rid of the banks. Where's the solution? Crypto. And so I started to really dive into that. And I think that's another message I was trying to get to creators is, if you really want to do this long term and you want this to be a business and you want to get to that top tier level, this is just you're gonna have to get some fintech 101, because you're gonna need to know like exactly how to make your money work for you, which a lot of people do not know how to do.
Yeah, it's so true. I have friends that are professional athletes as well, and
Mhm.
same type of mentality, right? Like, they have all this money and then they don't know how to manage it properly. So then when the money stops flowing, they're
Yeah.
they're out of it, right? And they don't have any
Mhm.
way to continue to keep that going. So it's so important, and I appreciate you coming on and actually speaking to that, the education piece. That definitely resonates with me. And I want to talk about WetSpace in just a
Yeah.
few moments, but I wanted to kind of get your take on this, because you had mentioned that OnlyFans and adult entertainment is discretionary, which I agree. But do you think that also, I have other friends as well in other businesses that deal with vices, marijuana or cigars. I'm a huge cigar guy.
Alcohol.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. And so people draw to that in times of recession or hard times, and we saw
Sure.
that a lot during the pandemic. Do you think that there's something to be said for that going into a recession as well, or do you think that it's gonna drop off along with a lot of other things?
Well, I think you have to think about that, because you think about COVID and so many people were out of work and people were hurting and we were handing out stimulus checks and what have you. It's like, but they still found time to afford some of these things. And so I agree with you. It is something that people consume. Sometimes for some people, it's an addiction, the same as, alcohol or recreational drug use. And so, absolutely, I don't think. I firm believer porn is never going to go away. And that's just something that will be here for the long haul. But I think there's an argument there. Certainly, I think it's a little scary right now, because I think inflation, like gas prices and stuff, shot up so quick. So people probably tightened up their budgets. But as things kind of mellow out, or as they get used, you're right. They're going to eventually, especially if they end up staying home more, the $12 they send to subscribe to one of their favorite creators is a lot cheaper than going out to the bar with their friends. And I think that's some of what we've seen that happened during the pandemic is, you go to the bar, you're going to drop 120 bucks at minimum, on some dinner and some drinks. Whereas at home, you can pay 12 bucks, maybe buy a $20 pay-per-view and you got yourself a night. So I think there is an argument there that this actually might be of benefit to us. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I really do.
Yeah, me too, because I think also to that same conversation, I wonder too, like, if you mentioned $12 not being a lot, but what if it was during the pandemic they had 3 or 4 models that they subscribed to, and
Yeah.
now they've kind of narrowed that down to one. So it's almost kind of like the cream may end up rising to the top. And I
Yes.
think you kind of mentioned that or alluded that to a little bit in the New York Post article, is that, like, there's a lot of smaller creators that may not make it and may just have to go back to finding a traditional job.
Yeah, and what's I think is going to be a big eye opener. A lot of creators are not necessarily managing their own pages anymore. Unfortunately, they've been scooped up by some online talent agency that makes them feel a certain way, and they take over all their writing, etc. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to afford that probably anymore as their numbers drop. And they're going to have to go back to actually running it as a business. I've never done that. Even at my level, it's unreal how many messages I get. I get it, but my community understands that I do pride myself on authenticity. But that's another thing that scares me is a lot of these creators, they've had their way paved because they have someone else doing it for them, and that might be something they have to cut back on and start doing it themselves. And so I just want to be I kind of morphed into this role of face of advocacy for this industry, which is very ironic and odd considering I was a hockey mom ICU nurse a year and a half ago.
Right.
But I think there's a relatability factor there, and a lot of people are looking to me like, "Holy cow! How does she do this so quickly?" And I'm taking that role seriously. I want to be an advocate, and especially as an adult in this space, like, well, we're all adults in this space, but you know what I mean? Like someone
Yeah.
who I do believe has a good grasp on how to handle money. I want to be able to help coach people through these times whenever, things could get rocky for some of these creators.
Where did your business acumen come from? Because I mean, as you'd mentioned, you're a former NICU nurse, correct?
hmm
And then you were in the Navy before that. So where did like the business? Because this seems like something that you kind of was it something that you just evolved over the last 18 months, or did you put certain people in the right places to make sure that like you were just taken care of and that you were creating these multiple streams of income?
For me, I think I do believe like the entrepreneurial spirit lives in people long before they ever utilize it. And when I look back at my life and how much of an overachiever I've always been, everything I've ever touched has succeeded in. And that's something that I never could really accept and admit to myself, like, wow. But, I have my doctorate degree as well. I'm just kind of like, that's just who I am. And so everything I do, I pour myself in it. And I think I have a good savvy of marketing. I didn't necessarily work in marketing in any, especially in this industry. And I certainly didn't know social media, but I think I use a lot of common sense, practicality, like things that I just feel everything I do is to continue to build a community, offer value, put that out there. And I think that's a hard transition for people who are not entrepreneurs to do, to understand the value to you of giving free value to others. And I'm not saying like free content, but I mean like just providing a wide range of, whether it be through entertainment or building that community and authenticity and reliability. So I certainly would say in this space in particular, definitely I have just continued to grow. My husband is an amazing partner. We're just our minds together are just like amazing. I mean, we're just a duo power couple. But I look back at other little small entrepreneur things I started, like I used to sell on Poshmark, or I would just like when MySpace was around, I used to make layouts. I mean, I've always had it in me where I was doing something for myself as a side gig, and so this is just on obviously on a much larger scale, and I hit the jackpot with it. So
Kids these days don't know what MySpace was like.
I know. I was just thinking, oh, I'm gonna really give my age away there, but
I mean,
you
we're the
remember
same age almost, so that's all good.
we were all amateur coders back then,
Yeah.
so
All the copy and pasting, my God.
oh,
So I love that. I actually kind of, and I just this question just popped in my head because you had mentioned your husband and how he's helping you with the business and stuff like that. Because everybody that's around me and me building my own business, like talk to me about like just keep your significant others out. Like you don't want to mix those two together. It's going to create a lot of problems. Did you actually end up finding that yourself, or do you think that it takes a special type of couple to create a business together, or do you think that any couple can do it?
well, I think one thing is that I've been married since I was 18 years old to my husband. We do not know adult life without each other per
Right.
se. So we've always had an amazing relationship, super close. Probably a relationship that most don't have. I mean, we've probably beaten a lot of odds having kids, being in the military. Like we should have been divorced according to the statistics. So
Yeah.
I think there's a strong relationship there, and that is ultimate foundation. And then it also helps we create content together. So it's kind of like a bigger part of this. And I think our communication's just always been good. So no, I don't think this will work for everyone. I think if your relationship isn't strong and have a solid foundation first, this could tear relationships apart. Because I mean, can you imagine coming into this kind of money doing this and one partner not being okay with it? And I mean, it would be devastating. But there's always been a level of respect there that I've never done anything he wasn't comfortable with, vice versa. And every business decision we made has always been together. So we're really fortunate. We really are.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
cool. I mean, and I definitely think that it takes a certain type of person and it takes a certain type of couple to actually be able to pull that off. I've only met a few of them, and I've always kind of like wanted to pick their brains, like, how do you do this? Because there's definitely it's not for everybody, and I agree with that. So I really love that answer. Okay, so you mentioned earlier about how you were really worried about OnlyFans and how they kind of just flipped the switch, right? As far as
Yeah.
taking adult content off the platform, and we talked about that earlier about how like it could just be gone one day, and kind of creating that safety net. And so obviously the backlash forced OnlyFans to just put it all back on. Uh, a lot of that I think was motivated, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going off of memory here. A lot of that was motivated because of credit card companies and banking
Yeah.
really giving them a lot of pushback as far as adult content's concerned. We've heard that from Pornhub as well.
Yeah.
And so you decided to create this business based in cryptocurrency so that you wouldn't have to deal with the banks and that sort of thing. And so I'll just go ahead and let you kind of
Yeah.
tell everybody about WetSpace and what it's all about.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found. Whenever the announcement was made, I just couldn't wrap my brain around, like, why would you want to cut off your $1 billion funnel of money?
Yep, right.
It made no business sense. And as I
Yeah,
started to look more, I realized they likely want to go public. And they were shopping for SPACs. And so I was kind of like, oh, okay, the writing is on the wall here a little bit,
yeah,
and that we might need to be careful about that, because if that's truly what they want to do, they're going to continue to work towards that. And then you look at what they're doing with OFTV. There's a lot of things that they're doing that really are supporting. They want to go more that YouTube PG-13 route. And so that's, when I discovered it, Visa and MasterCard, JP Morgan, Chase, they really run. If you don't have them on your side, you're not getting money. You're not collecting payments if they're
right.
paying in Visa or MasterCard. And you're correct, Pornhub went through this in 2018 as well. And they attempted, they had to scrub so much. Now, I want to say that because I always think about this, I want to support where I think the underlying message from the banks is that um, they want to make sure every user's KYC, there's not child pornography, we're not talking
Right.
sex trafficking, things like that. And so I am all for stricter regulation if that's what they want. But I think there's more than that from the banking. I think there may be a little bit of a moral, ethical component behind it. And I think there's concern with chargebacks, that the banks have to deal with that. So with all that in mind, you think about crypto and how does it come into play and how it's come into play in many different industries, not just the adult industry, but everything. So I started to look into that. I had two other business partners who I met and had very similar goals and who were super driven, and thought we started to look at all these tokens. There was all these adult tokens that were coming up. You hear about them, and we just didn't understand their model, because these coins are going to pump up, and then the creators are going to want to cash out and get paid, so then your coin's going to drop, so you got to have some incentive to keep these creators from not. It just seemed like a mess, and we thought, why don't I just have a site where you just pay with stable coins? Like, it's basically a little electronic gift card. You just kind of bypassing things. And once we figured that out, that's what we did. We implemented WetSpace, which will accept multiple forms of cryptocurrencies. Stable coins, we do accept ETH as well. Basically obtain smart contracts on all these coins. And it's been amazing. And I think it not only solved a problem for the creators, there's also a massive audience of users and fans who want to be anonymous, who don't want this on their bank statement either, because there's stories of their bank accounts being shut down as well for consuming this content and for charges. So it seemed like a solution for both sides, which obviously is great for the creator and the user. And that's kind of what we went with, and it's amazing. We've had nothing but great feedback. We are platformed just like an OF, subscriptions, pay-per-view, far more superior features. Obviously, it's a creator. I'm like a top creator designing it. So everything that we could ever want or need, or I think would help anyone grow their business, I'm implementing.
Yeah.
We're going to have an education portion of it. It's just, we're really doing it. And I think we're really the only one of our kind doing it like this. There's many tokens because they need the money up front to build the platform. And they're promising a platform that we have really yet to see from these tokens. So what's great about us is we didn't really need the capital. My business partners are very well off. I'm well off. And we are just we're pouring the money in on our own and we're funding it ourselves. And yeah, it's been going very well. We're in beta right now, so we have multiple creators already signed up, fans. I'm selling on the platform. Many people are selling. We've really I think a lot of people are really excited about it, and I'm excited about it, definitely.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, can create one for finance as well. That'd be great.
Mhm.
um, no, it's just because like YouTube. I mean, to your point, YouTube's just gotten super saturated with a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
And so like I've actually been looking at other platforms as well that are just focused on finance,
Yeah.
in this to the same degree, because you could be kicked off of YouTube for saying any for not even really saying anything on it, intentionally, right? Like when COVID came about, we couldn't even say COVID on YouTube or else you're
Yeah.
demonetized. Like you just mentioned the word COVID or coronavirus and they demonetize you immediately. Didn't matter what it was about, if it was informational or not.
Yep.
And it was just like ridiculous. So
Yeah.
uh, I could I could see how that's going to be really successful. I really hope it is. To that end, like what are and obviously we can talk about whatever, but like what are the specific features that like set you apart from other like creator platforms?
Well, like for instance, on OF in particular, there's a lot of things that uh, I run my business like a tight ship. So there's things I wish I could do that would make my streamline so much and make things easier for me, particularly say in the DMs or being having the ability to sort and create groups and list and things like that that really just help you maximize. These are the type of things that we're bringing over. The features that we have on WetSpace are to really help the creator like run their business easier, smoother, things like I'm kind of give example for someone that's not a creator's perspective. Well, one thing from the audience's perspective, I could say, is that we have a discovery feature. This is not something that OF has. You can't be discovered on OF. You have to drive your own traffic there. Where we have like kind of like an Instagram type algorithm that's in place where when the user signs up, if they're into MILFs, blondes, whatever it may be, and the user, the creator, when we sign up, we tag what we are, so then it kind of marries the two. So
Yeah,
you have a just like your discovery feed, you start Googling kitten videos, and oh my God, you're screwed for a month on Instagram. You're going to have kitten videos galore. So we're really trying to build that type of algorithm into our discovery so that creators know that you're not just having to drive all your own traffic here, that you can be discovered on the platform itself. So things like that are important. Having a store, a pay-per-view store. I was going to say, we have sports bettors now that are on the platform. Like they make sports picks. And so it's not even just adult content pay-per-view that you could put in this store. Like one of our guys, he puts his sports picks for the day and he locks it and it's a pay-per-view and you can buy it and see what he bet. And then so it really has options for other types of content outside of adult, and we're just starting to see that as we have more and more creators that are joining. But yeah, things like that's something that OF does not have. You can't have a store where people can just purchase your content while you sleep, etc. So just like things that could streamline that, the like I said, the DM features, having the ability for the creator to turn off and on what types of currency they want to accept. We don't accept Visa or MasterCard. It's just crypto, but you can turn off, like if you don't want to accept ETH, you don't have to. And so
right.
it's really cool. You go to the profile, you can see what, currencies they accept. And so there's a lot of things and it's evolving every day. We're adding new features. Like I said, we're in beta. But
Right.
yeah, I do see long-term other types of creators utilizing the platform. I certainly see the benefit in that. And it's really opened my eyes having quite a few of these sports bettors that are on there. It's really cool, actually.
Yeah, how did that come about? Did they just show up one day and start?
Yeah, I think where it started was we had a guy who came on. I'll quote him. His name is Skinny Betts, and he's just tired of chargebacks, on off. And same thing creators are going through.
Yeah,
We don't want chargebacks. Maybe someone can consume your content and then charge it off. So with crypto, you can't do that. You get the money and you're paid instantly. You go put it in your wallet, you cash out, done deal. So I think especially for someone like him selling, bets or what he is, it's like they see what you pick, then that it's done. If they could
right.
charge it back if they didn't win. So it's kind of a crappy situation. And so I think that was really his driving motivation. And when he came, he has a very large following and a lot of other sports bettors have joined the platform now. And I'm like, maybe we should have created bet space.
Yeah.
We should have another, but it's It's amazing. I felt really actually good to know, like, these are two industries that, are typically stigma or heavily criticized. And so it's cool to see that we're not only helping the adult community, but also the community of gambling, which, they're also going through some of the same things. Banks ban a lot of their stuff too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it could eventually evolve into something much bigger for sure.
Mm.
Do you think that just with it being in crypto, we obviously saw Bitcoin drop from 69,000 and or just over the weekend, came all the way down to 17K. And so, do you think that now I'm a proponent of cryptocurrency as well. So this isn't coming from a place of of just of negativity, but do you think that there's any kind of risk involved in just only accepting cryptocurrency, and where do you think those risks are? Do you have any kind of like fail safes in place, anything like that, or do you think that you're just going all in on crypto?
Well, I'm really glad you asked this because I was thinking about this the other day with was having a meeting with my business partners, and I was like, we should probably talk to the media about this because one of the great things is that there's two ways people use cryptocurrency, as a currency and as an investment.
Right.
And the way that we're using it, we don't really care if ETH is at $2 or 1,000. It really doesn't matter because we're just using it to pay through crypto, cash out. Creators are cashing out, paying, cashing out. So to us, if you're not using it as more like an investment side, the value of crypto is not really going to hurt us. Now, obviously, if crypto went all away forever, like there was no more crypto, then obviously our platform, we'd have to result back to fiat or do something.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of where the value of crypto is, it's just an electronic currency when you're using it the way that we're using it. And it really doesn't matter what it is because it's going to exchange on that day for dollar, whatever it may be. And creators, we're going to be putting out a lot of education about that, about, you know, making sure you cash out if you don't want to play with, you don't want to have any volatility there at all, making sure you're cashing out on your wallets and try to help provide some education on that. Because I mean, obviously, if you let it sit, you got paid in ETH and you let it sit for 3 months, you may not have the same value in there. Could be more, could be less. But I think most people are cashing, purchasing, cashing out. It's a pretty quick process. I know I am, at least.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. That was gonna be my next kind of segue. Was like, are you actually invested in cryptocurrency since you accept them, or are you just solely using it personally as just a way of to transact?
Right now, I mean, I'm like an early Dogecoin owner. I mean, that was the extent of my investing in crypto. I think at one point I owned half a Bitcoin. So I didn't have a lot of investing side of it. I have some NFTs, like, nothing major, but
Yeah.
I think that part of it right now is not very stable, obviously. And so a lot of people are backing away from that. But for me, I've always been more interested in the utility and the use of crypto. And same thing with NFTs. I'm more interested in the utility of the NFT versus the actual NFT. So, yeah, right now it's more just currency based and using it kind of electronically. And I really think about the community of fans who deal with probably just as much scrutiny and backlash as I do about consuming content from creators like myself, and how this is so awesome for them to have a place they could privately do this, and not have to feel judged on, their CPA or their wife or whatever it may be.
Right.
I think as a currency, it's really proven, why it's a value. It truly is.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it'll be interesting to see which ones actually make it out alive. A lot of people will compare cryptocurrencies to like the dot-com bubble, where there was some of them that really came out of the ashes, like an Amazon, for example, and then other ones that just completely went away. And most of them we don't even know what they are anymore.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll be curious to see how that all shakes out. And was there any thought process as you were kind of building this platform of creating your own cryptocurrency, or were you only solely focused on uh, leveraging the ones that were already created?
We definitely initially thought, because again, the only thing I had seen in the adult space was adult tokens with a promise of a platform. So our initial thoughts were, oh, I guess, that's how you start type thing. But when we really started to look into that and how that would not be successful, I don't think there's anything to say that down the road we wouldn't have our own token potentially. But I think right now there's so much at risk and like trying to just proof of concept that crypto in the adult space, that the last thing we want to do is have take advantage of all these creators like fan bases and pump this coin up, they invest in it, and then have to worry about the volatility of this coin and incentives, et cetera. And I think we didn't want to get involved in that. I think we really feel there was a need immediately for the platform and the use of crypto, that it's something that we've put off. And so down the road, I mean, I guess it's like right now, if OF wanted to come out with a coin, I mean, it would probably be successful. But I think starting out, we have people ask us all the time, they would love for us to have one, but I think that's because they want to be early investors of something and then watch it, and they believe in the product. But we also want to be mindful of the creators and their communities and how much backlash some of these big projects have seen. I mean, I'm Lana Rhodes, for one. I don't know the full story on that, and I don't think that was a lot of that was her fault, but her community was livid. And so that's not something that I wanted to go through. And I just don't think we're in the space, the time to do that right now. But eventually, we just want to do it right. We want to do
Yeah,
everything right.
that makes sense. It really sounds like you guys are looking out for, obviously, the people that come and enjoy the platform, but creators always just kind of get shafted, I feel like. And it seems as if you
Yeah.
guys are really making a focus on that as well. And I don't want to say shafted like we don't feel privileged, because I feel privileged. Like, I love being able to be a
Yeah.
creator, and I'm sure that you do too. But like, there's definitely this element where you kind of feel taken advantage of to a certain degree.
Mhm. For
So it's
sure.
really cool.
Absolutely. I think it's important. I think it's what keeps the platform running. And when you have creators that aren't happy or feel jaded, such as what happened with OF, which unfortunately really isn't their fault, then they all run to other platforms. And they did. A lot of girls did leave OF during that time. And so it's unfortunate. But I think other platforms, what a thing that really was of made sense to me is that it don't matter what platform they ship and go to, they too eventually, if they accept Visa and MasterCard, will have to deal with those demands. And that was something that I was really trying to stress to creators, is that you want long-term stability where you're not going to have to be concerned about that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
mhm,
Um, Allie, I just wanted to say thank you again
thank you.
for the time that you've given us, and for everybody who's in the Chaos crew. Make sure that you are commenting, and go support WetSpace if you guys want to go check that out.
Thank
Um,
you.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. I did have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that this, being a creator, do you think it's something that you yourself are going to be able to do for a really long time, or is the wet space, the business side of it, something that you're gonna kind of work yourself into and maybe go into retirement from a creative standpoint?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I don't have any intention. A lot of people ask me if I'm leaving OF right now and only going to be on WetSpace, and that's not the case. I mean, obviously, I have a big community there. I would never do that. I don't foresee myself doing this till I'm 60. I definitely don't. I'm a businesswoman. I have so many things in the works right now that are going to probably blow people's minds. And so for me, I think you will always see evolve. I think my content and my creation will always probably still be there. At some point, will it become more of an archived thing for purchase that I don't actively manage? Probably, depending, but definitely I am preparing for the future long haul, and I don't think I will do as much content as I do here. 10 years from now, I probably will be in a much different role. So,
Mm. Yeah, I always figured I would ask. Man, this is so cool. I know a lot of people know Allie Rae, the OnlyFans model, but I'm so glad that you were able to come on, and I think that it was really interesting to hear the businesswoman that is Allie Rae. So thank you so much for
yeah,
being on. I hope that
thank you.
everybody else had gotten something out of it as well, and would love to have you back on at a later date.
Mhm. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you so much. It's really wonderful, and I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to show this side of me. A lot of people don't get to see; they just see the fun Instagram flirty girl, and I actually am a very very intelligent woman. So thank you,
Yeah, obviously. All right. So thank you so much for hanging out, guys. We'll see you next time.
thank you.